technical difficulties. Let's get going here. It's January 9th, 2025 meeting. Planning board members, John Dated, Mike Sanudo, Selectman Rep, Mike Price, Tom Bill Reserve, Jeff Feenstra, Jeff Kuchar, Town Planner Glenn Greenwood, and Sue, extraordinary McKinnon. Technical, if you have any computer problems, call Sue. Okay, so the first thing is a continued hearing site plan review map 202 lot 50, 65 or 108, Dave Garvey. A site plan review submitted by Dave Garvey for map 202 lot 50 located in the commercial district at 65 or 108. The proposed project is to build 3 buildings, light industrial condominiums, with a total of 8 units, 18,920 square feet. This includes removal of existing house and garage and the installation of all associated improvements. I think this is the 4th time you've been here. I think what I had, Glenn was going to finish up reviewing condo docs because we had some issues with them last time. You were looking, you submitted some more things on the stormwater. We got a final on December 30th from RCCD. You worked out everything on stormwater. Thanks for doing that. I had a good conversation with Jerry Lane about everything, which was informative to me. So I guess if you guys just want to present where you stand, then we can, ask some questions here.
Okay, so, well, letter from Jerry Lane, you're all set with that. According to the minutes from last time, that was really the only outstanding item that we had. That Jerry, I think Glenn now reviewing the condo docs. The only other thing is right now, two things. One is the impact fee, and the other is the septic plan. Septic plan has been submitted. Don't have approval back yet, but it's just it's in the submission. So the only thing is the impact fee. The impact fee is going to suggest that I can pay that within whatever 2 weeks, 3 weeks from time to get approval. So that's just ready to sign it.
Yeah, I think before we, or I, for myself, I'm not going to sign anything until you're all paid up, because I think, I don't know if there's RCCD money still out there. We got to get stuff. You were looking for final from them the other day.
We haven't received the bill yet.
Yeah. Okay. And then what is it, $5,400 impact fee for the sidewalks?
It just made the approval subject to the check.
I got a couple of things I just wanted to kind of finalize. If you look at the fire cistern, you're going to put in another tank on back next to the other one, correct? Mm-hmm. So is there going to be any implications in how are you going, because it's just going to fit in that kind of town easement. Is that going to present an issue? You got it. It shows that it's 30 by 40, and the new tank, 15-gallon tank, is going to go right next to it. So I don't know if you need to go get something from the other owners to make that happen.
I can have a conversation with Tony Selena.
Yeah,
and that's fine. We talk on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah. So I don't think you need to. It's got to fit within there because that's all the town has. That's given.
That it was actually this book, right?
No. So I just wanted. I saw that, and the other thing are the trees. So we talked last time that you were saying there's a bunch of trees out there, and I don't know this. Could you? I went out to the pictures.
On the latest plan, I had him put in trees that will be planted if the trees that are existing are down.
But the thing is, there are no existing trees.
Correct.
I'm sorry?
So there are no existing trees.
Right.
I went out and took pictures. It's very clear that there are no existing.
The images.
Right here.
Yeah. So, it just seemed very odd to say proposed future 50 arborvitae to be planted as a buffer if the other lot cuts the trees. That sounds to me. So that I'm just looking down, there's the property marker right there. And the white in the background, and you can see it on the site plan existing, is the back of the garage, existing garage, which is coming out. And then just go to the next picture.
I can figure out how to do it here.
You know, there are no trees there, Dave. So to go and say, if they cut, so there's, and so the property line you're showing is about 15 feet off the back of the garage. I don't see any trees.
And the pines are all on the property line. There's I think a single.
That one pine. I walked it, actually, Brian, a couple weeks ago. We found that one pine is really, and the rest is just scrub. So you know, where you show, what I think it should say, this is my feeling, other people's feeling, is that you got to plant those 50 arborvitaes. You know, and you said they're going to be 5 to 6 feet tall, not some little bitty little arborvitaes. But I mean, that's just one thing. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on it. John?
So I'm glad you brought this up, actually. I happened to be coming back from Newmarket and was stuck in traffic, sitting, looking at the site, and you can see right through. Bill's correct. There's no, there's like maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 overgrown spruce trees that are quite a ways back from the road. And given the design of what you've got here, it's the back of that building that fronts 108 is going to be highly visible if there is no screening. And there is really none to speak of. That scrub, I'm fairly certain you're going to have to cut most of that down when you're doing your site work. It's not something you're going to leave for your development, I wouldn't think. I mean, that would be not a good move. So I do concur with Bill that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Bill, because that was going to be one of my questions this evening, was ensuring that we get some sort of screening on that backside, because the view on 108 is going to be the back of that building without screening.
So it looks like that largest pond is set far enough back off of 108 that that's going to shield the, I don't know, the second or.
Well, if you take a look at, I see the garage, the existing garage is way up here.
I went up there as well after our last meeting.
So,
I was under the impression that all these were further this way. But I went out and looked. No, I was saying this corner. I thought this corner was further down.
There's nothing there. So
We're good under 50 feet.
I just think the arborvitae should be part of the approved site plans. Would that be proper, Glenn?
The site plan review regulations have a section about buffering
Good.
and say that it is the purview of the planning board during the site plan review process to ensure that adequate buffering is proposed and provided for.
If we also put a note in the condo document saying they have to maintain all the landscaping. I mean, it says in their document that the contractor is responsible for 1 year after planting. But, you know, what's to stop if they start dying that the condo association has to replace them?
Well, the landscaping, I would prefer that if that is the desire to have the arborvitae planted, then they should be displayed on the plan. And once they're displayed on the plan, if they die, they aren't in compliance with the site plan approval because there would be no buffering. So you would just simply talk with the owners if it's no longer Mr. Garvey and say that their required site plan buffering isn't there. That just seems cleaner to me over the long term of things, to have it be on the site plan. Instead of just saying that we planted if the existing buffering is taken out, if the board's concern is that there isn't enough existing to begin with, then we should simply say the arborvitae should be planted. And that's a requirement of the site plan. So that if they're not there, then the owners have to maintain the landscape buffer.
So would it then be helpful to educate the new owners that that is their responsibility to keep that up?
I would presume that anybody that is going to buy there is going to ask to be given a copy of the site plan.
No. Oh,
They're required to be given.
I mean,
a copy of the
and
site
that site plan, if we have it on this, that's why I prefer to do this as a part of the site plan.
you don't find it a need to put it into the condo docs?
I mean, it's not an onerous thing to put into the plan and into the condo docs. But the condo docs reflect that the approval is to the site plan as well.
Yeah.
And that's why to me, I'm more comfortable having it be
No, I just didn't
clear
know,
on the
if
site.
I'm John Doe and I buy one of those units, I see a site plan, I see bushes there, but I don't know that I'm responsible for those.
It's not, it's the association that's responsible.
Well, I know, but I'm part of the association, being an owner of one of those condos.
But that's, when they purchase, they're given copies of the condo docs, they're given copies of the site plan. And the budget, all that good stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so I think, are we all saying put the arborvitae's in on the site plan?
You've got John down there waving his hand.
Good.
Well, no, I mean, so the applicants clearly put forward a landscape plan, and it does show the arborvitae, in fact, the whole way behind the buildings, which is great. I think it could just be a matter of notation change, both in the legend where it states future, and then on the plan set where it says proposed future to be planted as a buffer if lot 20216 removes existing trees. And I think that note, frankly, should be amended anyway, because I'm not convinced that there's any trees on 20216. If anything, they're right on the property line. So,
But that would not put them on the approved site plan.
what?
No, that would,
What if we amended the note to say?
required.
Yeah, like,
That's good with
Yeah, that's part of the site plan.
yeah, just remove the future part in the legend and then modify that note or well,
just to leave it.
I guess, it doesn't state specifics with regard to the rest of the landscaping other than the legend for what's proposed, so I guess it could be appropriate to just remove the note
Good. Good.
and remove the future. from
Right,
the
that it's saying that it's future, so that it shows as being something required of the site plan.
Yep, I think that's fair. And
Good.
given the circumstances, I think that's necessary, frankly.
Okay. Anybody, we done talking arborvitae's? I guess one other thing was, I mean, this is, Sue spends a lot of time reading stuff. This was just kind of like, this is the drainage memo, and, it says somewhere county, and then this is messed up down here. So I mean, we're all done the drainage plan, but it just would be nice if that was cleaned up. The other thing is, I think somebody else grabbed this, and this is the Stonyfield Farm, Inc. that we're dealing with here, because you gave us this management plan for stormwater, and it just talks about Stonyfield Farm, Inc. So that should be, I know it's just boilerplate stuff, but then the other thing in this is that, I think, Dave, you have to sign this. This is an agreement, the stormwater management plan. Somewhere in here, you have to sign it, then it gets transferred to, I guess, the condo association.
Yeah.
It talks about, just what we're looking for, reporting, what they have to do, and all that stuff's in here. I mean, from looking at it, I think it's a good plan. But it also shows, which I know from personal experience, is you have to maintain these things, so. I don't know if everybody else, did you get a look at this?
Mhm.
You can just pass it. I mean, I think the thing is, look at the end of it, you see what these systems look like, there's filters and, just pass that around. So I think that's the other thing, that's gotta get signed at some point. Dave has to say he's gonna be responsible for
Yeah.
maintaining the stormwater system.
Yeah.
The other thing I found was, this sheet came SO1, and like in the middle of it, there's something about the trash, proposed trash enclosure in the middle of the other lot. I don't know if that needs to come out of there. So, did you see that note?
From the field.
Yeah. I mean, this was a newer,
Someone just gave me an updated copy, this is from Atlantic. Oh, no, you're talking about effluent disposal system.
it's just, see it up here, it talks about. The other thing, and I've been talking with Jerry about stormwater, was that you discharge now into the pond that's over on Dunkin' Donuts property, and it's overgrown. So, he's suggesting that, and I'm not clear, I try to go through your old documents, that somebody needs to maintain that. So I think we should make it a requirement that they go out there and cut the brush down. Because, it's on Dunkin' Donuts property, but it's the whole site.
It serves Dunkin' Donuts and it serves
You.
this.
This land. So I think that should get cleaned up.
It's actually was supposed to be part of what Tony was doing. His landscaper was supposed to take care of it.
Okay, so that's going to be an item of, like a condition of approval, I guess you'd say. Anybody else got anything else?
I have nothing
You
else.
guys good? So, do we want a motion to approve it as conditions?
I'll move it as is the conditions that we've laid out there tonight.
Glenn, you want to just go over the conditions?
I did not write them down, but yes, we can go over them right now.
So I would say it's,
We want the amendments to the site plan indicating that the arborvitae are going to be planted, not proposed.
That he signed the drainage, that he's going to maintain the drainage system as put forth in the stormwater management plan.
So it's not you and that plan.
Yeah. And then that gets transferred down the road.
Do you want that recorded? Stormwater management plan stuff. In several of my towns get recorded.
Yeah, let's record it. I mean, I know that's what we're starting to push everywhere now, so that would get recorded. It has to be, it gives them, it's good. It gives them how many times a year they need to do things.
Just a couple. Yeah.
And then they got to get septic approval, which is typical.
Right, they need that.
They got to clean the pond up, the detention pond on whatever lot Dunkin' Donuts is. 202, 15.1.
Any impact fees?
Any impact fees and any billings for engineering, whatever.
And the cistern.
And then the cistern, to make sure you're clear. I mean, you're not going to get anything occupancy until the cistern's in. That's clear. So, I mean, how you work that out with Dunkin' Donuts, I don't think the town, it has to go on that 40 by 60 piece of land there to get it in there. So, I mean, there's going to be obviously construction disturbance there, so.
Maybe a letter from Tony Salima stating that,
It's only going to help him.
Right,
It's
yeah,
a
exactly.
larger system in there, so I can't see where he. I think that's all I had.
I show it as being 7 conditions.
And the changing the rating on the plan to.
Yeah, it
It will
includes
be on the site plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to put forth that motion?
I'll move it again as conditioned.
Okay, second? Second. Good, all in favor? Aye. Good, anybody opposed? Good. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks. The next item, I'll let you guys get out of here. Okay, so the next item is a public meeting, a public hearing on zoning changes. I'm gonna read these, we'll touch each one. So just for the listening audience, kind of pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 676:4, ID and 675:3. Notice is hereby given of a public meeting hearing to be held on Newfield Planning Board on Thursday, January 9th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the main hall of the Village Town Hall. I didn't know there wasn't
I'm sorry?
the main hall. We're in the main hall.
Oh, okay.
The purpose of the meeting hearing is the following. The board will be voting on the following proposed zoning amendments to place on the warrant ballot for the town election in March 2025. There's 4 of these items. The first one is amend Article 10, ordinance, administration and enforcement, 10.1 authority by having it read as follows. To promote the health, safety, convenience, and general welfare of the community by regulating the construction of buildings thereon in the town of Newfield, New Hampshire. An annual town meeting convened March 14th, 1959, as amended. The proposed new language is involved. So we're adding, we caught this, it was something that was put in there in 1959, not as old as I am. So we're just saying it's as amended, as all these things get amended over time.
It presently reads, really, that it's only amended up to like 1984, and then no other amendments count. That certainly is not the case. And so we want to take off that outdated reference and just say, as it's been amended.
Anybody, I guess I'll open up a public hearing on each one. So anybody have any comments on that for the public? Everybody happy? Good. So I guess we need a motion to move that to the ballot.
I'll move that to the ballot as written.
I'll second it.
Good, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the second change is add a new definition at Article 2, definitions to become new section 2.1.9, drinking establishment, bar and tavern, nightclub, brewery, cocktail lounge, coffee shop, juice bar, or other similar enterprises that serves alcoholic beverages and or non-alcoholic beverages to customers. And then all subsequent definitions will be renumbered. So we want to talk about this at all, or?
The only comment I'll make here is, in your and/or, I believe, again, not to be too technical, but should we have a slash there between and or? Yes.
We have to the cat, that's just a tutorial, so.
Yeah. I just want to make sure because people might assume we didn't need and or didn't need or because the and or convention.
I guess one thing I had after I sat and thought about this was, what I do, it's under, because I feel I'm grandfathered, but also under agritourism, it's allowed.
Correct.
So, and what I do is, it's grown on the property, we ferment it there. We have what's called an off-premise sales liquor license. So it's not, which means the bulk of ours has to be sold off-premise. And the license allows us to, and I think our approvals, we talk about, anything to do specifically with a wine, that's what we're 6-foot premises. So I just want to be clear about that, I was just up, somebody's putting in 2,000 blueberry bushes up somewhere up north, and they're going to make blueberry wine. And it's just like a great, this is, I don't want to discourage that kind of stuff. I don't think what we want to be doing here.
No, but that very instance that it's actually something that's grown on site makes it clearly an agricultural endeavor. And so that falls away from our zoning ordinance
Correct.
into the state statutes that allow
Again, maybe as a reminder, the purpose of in putting in these definitions is not to prohibit activity, but ensure that an activity is related to what is allowed in those particular zones.
it, where we have, and this describes activity that
Correct.
isn't presently described.
Isn't presently defined.
Correct.
Good. Anybody, item 2, anybody from the public want to talk about it? Ruth, you look. No?
You had to be quizzing.
You just gave
But targeting seems like a harsh word.
So, I totally concur with what you're saying, that the bulk of whatever was produced, so if you're growing potatoes and you want to make whatever kind of alcohol comes from potatoes, so be it, right? How does it relate to taking another local vendor or producer, let's say a craft brewery, and serving it at another farm under the agritourism? How is that going to flow?
I'll let Quinn answer that. It's not growing on the property. Or,
Yeah, I'm not, once an agricultural product is being sold off the site, then it's just a commercial activity. Because you've lost the connection to the agricultural intent of allowing it to happen in our RA zone, so to speak.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that 100%, only because the agriculture law allows for products other than the farm to be sold. And that minimum amount, as we all know, has to be produced from the farm, farms of the farmer. So I think if it
Right,
truly
65-35.
yeah, but I think if it's truly an agricultural product, then I think that becomes a little bit of a gray area to a sense. But I would say that alcohol in general is, regardless of agricultural component, regulated by the state. I mean, you can't just grow potatoes and make whatever you're making for alcohol out of potatoes without getting the proper licensing from the state of New Hampshire.
If you're gonna sell,
Regardless of its.
if you're gonna sell it, yeah.
Correct.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how that all works, but this isn't intended to address anything really, in my understanding, to do with agriculture.
It isn't.
This is to address the fact that the town of Newfields does not currently have these definitions in our ordinance, which we're hoping by putting these into the ordinance will be helpful for establishments of these types going forward.
what,
Just to clarify, the 35%, 65% has nothing to do with, let's say, a drinking establishment. It
Right.
is solely for farm stands.
That's absolutely, that's
It is
absolutely.
solely for farm stands. So I just want to make sure that we all recognize that it is an approved restaurant under agritourism that occurs up in Deerfield. There's no 35, 65 rule.
Correct. And as I heard the question, my response was, once the product created on site is being sold someplace else, it really has no connection to agriculture.
It's commercial
It
activity.
becomes a commercial activity, so if you're then selling that at a site that is a store, that store better comply with zoning.
Right.
Good. Anybody else? Got any? You good?
Well, I'm good with the definition on the part of the drinking establishment,
I'm good.
but I had a question later on.
I'm good. So, I think what I heard on 2 was the end, or just to put that slash in
Slash in
there.
there.
I think that's important. I mean, English obviously is a tricky language, but
So are lawyers.
people could interpret that different ways if we don't put the slash in there.
Don't we know how people can interpret
I
things?
yes, experienced that a couple of times over the years.
Like, where's the front of your cup? Yeah. So, anybody want to make a motion on 2, making that minor change? Go ahead.
Before you do that, can I just clarify one thing, just to make sure I'm clear? So, and I know this isn't a agricultural, so it's kind of out of the scope of it. But, as an abutter, to not have something else happen down the road, as we have so many farms that could turn into something new agricultural. Would this preclude them as part of their agritourism events offering catering that would then sell liquor on site?
This is just the definition. This isn't approving
No, I,
this use.
yes, but what I'm saying is if somebody is doing agritourism, hires a caterer to cater their agritourism events, the caterer has a liquor license. Does this definition of a bar allow them to do that? Or does it not allow them to do that in a residential zone? RA zone?
It depends on how you use this definition in creating the ordinance or the regulation. This definition, I don't think, gives permission or doesn't allow permission for any of these. This is simply describing what drinking establishment means.
Well,
And no, but we do 2 things, Mike. We make we have a definition, and then we say that each of those 2 things, the restaurant and the bar, are permitted uses in table 2.
Oh, no, I got that, but as far as
So that
evaluating
it's really
this,
hard to answer a question about agritourism, because agritourism is contingent upon what the activity is that they're doing.
right.
So if they're doing something on site, and they have a caterer's license to do it as a one-off event or even a semi-annual event, there are all sorts of factors that are going to play on that site with what it is that they're doing.
or a weekly event?
Whether it's a
In
public
this
event
instance,
or whether
what
it's
these
tickets
things
to
are,
bars,
what
yeah.
these things are doing, what we are proposing here is simply to create the description of 2 uses that we feel the town wants to allow in the commercial zone, so that when one looks at our table 2 uses, there's actually a definition for those 2 things. Because presently, one of them isn't listed as a use. One is restaurant, but then we don't have any definition associated in the zoning ordinance for a restaurant. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And I wish I could give you a better answer about something happening as an agritourism activity, but until that agritourism activity is proposed, I don't know what the answer is.
It's all very confusing. I don't want to get into liquor laws. They're all over the place anyway, so. Okay, so I guess we're still at just the slash between and or, everybody else? Do you want to make a motion to approve it? with
I'll
that?
make a motion to approve with the technical correction.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the third item on the agenda, on the items, amend Article 3, Section 3.4, establishment of district uses by amending the Schedule I use regulations table by adding drinking establishment to paragraph 3.4. This just is putting this in the lineup of definitions in the ordinance.
On table two.
On the
As a
table.
use. As a use.
As a use in the same categories as retail stores, restaurants, personal and professional services, and
Correct.
offices.
Okay, anybody in the public have any thoughts on that, comments, questions? Good. Is there somebody motion it?
A motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good. And then the fourth one is add a new definition on Article 2 definitions to become a new Section 2.1.30 restaurant, a business or individual that sells prepared food to customers. All subsequent definitions will be renumbered. Any discussion on that?
I'm thinking yes. Maybe not from the board yet.
Okay. Anybody will open up a public hearing? Anybody from the public, any comments on that?
So, end of my driveway. I'm selling prepared foods. Am I a restaurant?
You're not allowed in the residential district.
Oh, good point.
This kind of hit me when a week after after the last meeting, Sue said something out saying Nichols, the sugar shack, wants to move his sugar. He's going to build a sugar shack, and I just was like, yeah, listen, yeah, just put it. But this would not preclude. That's an agricultural thing. This would
That
not
would
preclude
totally
them
fall
from-
under agritourism.
Absolutely.
And again, then it hits the 35-65 question of, it's in effect, you're talking about a farm stand.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Dave Garvey builds these units, and one of those becomes a bakery.
Can't,
Well, wait a minute, and he's shipping them somewhere else to be sold. But he's also selling out of there. Is he not allowed to do that?
I don't think he's not allowed to do commercial activity. Sales at that site, I thought, under our site plan.
Right.
Now, could he establish a bakery and basically wholesale it? And
Sure.
Ship it someplace else? Sure. Sure. I don't think we have a problem with that.
Oh, did you have some comments?
I mean, and understand the retail aspect of it is because on the parking side, we were basically allowing them the parking basically for people who work there, not for a retail type establishment.
I mean, anybody else would be in the commercial district. I mean, he's kind of put himself under, because it's light industrial,
Yeah.
under a whole different.
And the condo dogs even more
Yeah,
strict.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir?
The only concern I had after the last meeting when I was reviewing this and going through it, one of the things that I subsequently talked with Derek about, because I was confused about how somebody could avoid this restaurant definition by accepting donations and setting it up in exchange for a donation of parking or for a donation to my entity. They could avoid being under the food definition, restaurant sales definition. Derek was completely comfortable with more general language on that and said it's well within the scope of the executive branch or the select board to be able to define any violations. Say, well, you're taking a donation. If you're doing it as a business, then you have to comply with IRS codes and have a certain establishment to be able to take those donations in lieu of cash for exchange of services. So he is very comfortable with leaving the language as drafted and not tightening it up any further.
I'll go a step further than that. Anybody who tries that will be in violation of the room and
Rooms and
meals
meals.
tax avoidance in this state, and the state will come down on them with like a ton of bricks.
That's very, yeah. I mean, we,
Yeah.
And the only counsel I'll throw to that is kind of like how the human services come down on the quote unquote restaurant
No, but.
You understand the point.
I understand the point, but what I'm saying is, any individual can contact the State Department of Revenue Administration and say, this establishment is not paying its room and meals tax by charging for parking and not reporting their room and meals. And
that's
I have no doubt the state will come down on
And
it,
it
because
precludes-
you're talking about revenue now.
And it precludes somebody from being able to sidestep it.
Yeah.
Very legal once again. So,
Well, they did. Anybody else got any, I'll open that up to the public, comments on the restaurant definition? Anybody else got anything?
Yeah, is there prepared foods? Does that include me cooking a chicken and handing it to you? Is that prepared food, or is it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But it also requires that you sell
It could be a packaged food.
it. It could be prepared foods or packaged foods, yeah.
Anybody else got any comments? Is there a motion?
I'll move it as written.
Second?
Second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Good, great, we've done those.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Right.
Thank you, Mike.
He keeps doing that. At every meeting, he's asking questions about if I sell this thing into my driveway. I have this Louis stake out the edge of your driveway or something.
That must be good.
Oh, back in Terry, what's his name? I was trucking in tomatoes and making soup. And I was going to have a because that's what he was doing. Right, right. Yeah, all of that. All of that.
That's the old one. That's the old
That
one.
must be the.
No, that's the one Bill gave me
It is?
the other day.
Why?
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's
It's also
not,
one.
it's not that much.
It's industrial.
Oh,
Well, look,
I assume old railroad. but I don't know.
so the one on the street is different than this?
yeah,
The railroad going through?
so,
It takes about to.
everybody's got, the one that she's got up there shows the aquifer protection stuff on it. And I had him take that out.
Oh,
Because I think we should have another map that shows aquifer protection and the setbacks, the 100-foot setbacks from the tributaries in the Piscassic and the 150 from the river. And then I had Sue look at, print out the description of district boundaries, because I'm like looking at some of this just looking at commercial district, if you read that, it talks about 600 feet. I don't know, John, you're probably more familiar with this. I think they're trying to say 600 feet either side of Route 108, but it doesn't really read.
Yeah, the description is kind of, so it's a little interesting, I think, because the, I guess, east side of 108 would be pretty clear to the 600-foot depth, but the west side sort of describes this starting at the junction and then going to the Stratham town line, which kind of, I always sort of looked at that and wondered if the intent was for the line to just sort of like not necessarily be at a 600-foot depth, but just to go from the junction to the Stratham town line at the river. Like, so it would be kind of an odd shaped piece of, it always seemed to me that the east side was a clear 600-foot depth and the west side was like a pie piece. That's how I always.
So I think we need, next year, we could clarify that language.
Because you could also read this, that it's 600 feet east of said highway and on the westerly side of 108.
It does say and, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But then from the junction to, does it state that? I don't.
yeah, it does. It does.
So, I
not real clear.
I think, the piece you're looking at is what you own, John, but because there's the 100-foot setback from the brook, the piece this side of the brook isn't going to get developed anyway. So, you know what I mean? So I think we need to we could clarify, we can't do it this year. The other thing on that is, see the little, he did a parcel, if you look way at the top, there's a little piece coming out. Remember, didn't we change something a while ago because somebody came and said, I want my whole parcel in the commercial and not broken up?
I thought I remember that too, actually.
Is that Great Bay Camping out there?
No, so see this little
Oh,
piece right up here?
Yeah.
Oh, it bumps
Yeah,
out.
if you guys see it's this right here.
It bumps out towards the New Market line.
Is that Clark? Is that Clark? The property? Is it Clark? That was,
See just what we're talking.
But it actually crosses over the
piece
river.
right here.
You could
Or the railroad track.
build it like this.
it does, but I do sort of recall.
Remember that? I remember, and I don't know if we have
I
a.
thought we described it to the Rockingham, or the Congo tracks and rail trail.
Can you zoom?
And then reverted the property on the other side, the north side of the track that the residential, or whatever the rest of the lake area is. Yeah. That finger right up there, like this piece here. Yeah, that is, I think, what I thought we had discussed. Yeah. That little knob at the top, we discussed.
You had it, what did you do?
So I think we changed it on the map, but we never changed it in the language. That's what I'm taking.
But I do recall that discussion, but that would be something that would have had to go to town vote. So did it? I don't know.
When do you think you did this?
Oh, God.
It's in my lifetime here. I remember, it was the guy with the guy that builds kids' houses, right? What's his name?
No, he's in New Market.
No,
It wasn't his car.
Joe Clark
I think it was Joe Clark's
He
property.
has like 20 acres.
Yes, I think it was Clark's. I think we talked about just making it like residential on the other side of the track. Utilizing the rail trail as the divider between, because it was this odd little finger of industrial property that stuck beyond on the top up there.
And that's what it shows now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I could have sworn it changed something.
How?
He took something, I mean, what Rob got, he said it was a parcel. Sue got us the cartographics that he's gonna give us a map showing every parcel in town, and he's got it, before when you would use cartographics for tax maps, they're all over the place, they're not, but he's got it lined up, he's been playing with it, so I think it's just something we could work on, and next year prepare a proper language, so it's clearer. Then the other one that's kind of screwy on language is, if you go into residential village district and you start talking, it talks about Newfields Garden as described in the plot plan from 1958. That was, I don't know, I should have made top. This was Newfields Gardens. So it wasn't, some of it wasn't built. So that's why, see, like, so where Heath is there, I don't think that's the proper, if you say this is Newfields Gardens, that's not. So I think it's just a minor, it's like to change it to the east side of Heath or whatever.
Or,
And he feels.
I think this was.
Oh,
Either the, it's one of that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's part of Clark.
yeah, that should be industrial, that's the house.
I think that's,
Reference it just as-
one of the other things that changed was the old map, if you look at where Kingston Warren is now, where Hutchinson is, I don't want to touch this, but
Good luck, Bill.
Hold his hand, Jim.
look at that.
I don't think this map lines up with the definition of
No, I think we have changed a lot of it. So, originally, when I met with Greg, and if you look at the old map, we show the water district, it's kind of irrelevant, the water district went out here, and it doesn't. For everything Ray had. So that got eliminated, but like Ray points out, you know, they get water in there, they
Comes down the railroad.
It goes down the railroad tracks. So that was something we just, digging around, found, that changed from this map here, so.
But from the industrial district, the definitions that we have reference 3 parcels down there.
Yeah, and there's 12 lines.
But this map only references 2 of those 3 parcels.
I think the other one you're talking about is across the tracks.
Nope. Well, no. So it references, now designated as lots 1, 10, and 11. What you have on there is only including lots 1 and 10. Now, I don't know if we want to have 11 included in that industrial or not.
Where's 11?
It's right,
It's basically,
that's right.
it's
South.
here.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hobie's lot is carved out here.
Yeah.
So lot 11 is a segment here that attaches here.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how it showed on the old map.
Why was that?
Trust me, they have misrepresented, no, but see that actually,
That must show that, it's just like Hobie's lot
Yeah.
is the only one that's not in.
yep,
Correct. Yeah, because it references by lot number.
yeah.
Okay. So that's something he should change now, is to
You should
increase
make the map reflect
the lots.
the zoning map.
Yeah, it has to at least start with
It's gonna
representing
reflect the language.
what this says.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's currently missing 11.
Good.
The draft map is missing lot 11. It should be.
I mean,
Yeah.
It encompasses all Hutchinson, right?
yeah,
It does.
and then some, yeah.
Yeah.
And then even across the tracks, too.
Well, Hutchinson owns that land across the tracks, I
Yeah.
thought. I think they own that.
So what, you know, takes me, we don't have to rush this, we've got a map, but, so the other thing I think we need to do, it gets, when you started putting the aquifer protection district on there, which shows the wellheads and all that stuff, which was actually on the original map, and it's, a couple of things have increased there, is to put that on a separate map with all the setbacks from, you know, the streams and the brooks, that's 100 feet, and then along the Squamscott, it's 150 feet.
So I'm thinking the idea is to be able to overlay the lot maps on any of these.
And you'll be able to see it
Yeah.
clear. And then, you know, I talked to Rob, from a planning perspective, I think it would be good if we looked at the developed lots, where, you know, kind of like, where's the left good land? You know, where is the land that's left to get developed? Because you start taking the setbacks and the wetlands out, and he's got floodplains on this. So take a look at it, and, you know, maybe next month we can go over it. I'll have him make that change. And then, if we see anything else, then we can finalize it next month or something.
How can we research the Joe Clark
I mean, it had to have gone to town meeting vote, so if you have a guesstimate as to when that was, I can come over some morning and look at the town reports.
You talking about that industrial zone?
Yeah, that little,
I could have sworn we voted.
Oh, Sue has all of the ballots and zoning changes together.
Sue?
Sue
Wow.
Sue is a genius.
You'd think you're like the town clerk or something. That's impressive.
No, I know her, she's weird.
Wow, yeah, I mean, if you have, can you just do like a control F on Clark?
No, they're not scanned. I
No.
think it's not.
Oh,
That's a great
That's
idea. Yeah. Scan them, yeah.
okay.
But just having them in one place would make it
Yes.
much easier to go through.
Yeah, awesome.
But
I'll look.
It would be within Sue's tenure because she's been here the whole time.
she's been here
So-
longer than I have, but I remember it, so.
my question, why did they include that Clark property, given our definitions? No, given our definitions.
It must have shown on the previous map.
Okay. Because our definitions really do not include that.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I didn't see
It
it.
references the railroad being the border along with the Spinia property.
No, it's this right here. This- this is-
And the railroad.
This is everything else over here. This is up. Okay, so take a look at it and we'll find, then I think next year we'll have to do some different descriptions. You know, like get rid of the old Newfields Gardens and all that stuff, just to clean it up.
I agree with that.
Boston and Maine Railroad.
Yeah.
Newfield Building Corp.
Yeah.
What is that? That Kingston, what is that?
That's, that was Dixon.
Newfield Building Corp?
I think this is Newfields Building.
Ah.
No, this is Newfields Gardens.
Yeah. Under residential agricultural land. So like Taplin, I think, so this didn't get built. Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, this, Bill, it's a really good thing that you've started this. Because this has been an interesting component of being the planner. Not as a zoning map that I really ever felt I could look at. Because it never seemed to match up.
Well, one of the things that helped a lot was Sue got the cartographic stuff, and he can, I guess, get it exactly where it's supposed to go, because, you know, the tax map's not exact, so that will help us. So, okay, so that's a work in progress.
Just one thing, though, to your point. So assuming we get all these right, and we get the overlays, right? If we just think about this for a minute, basically, there is almost no, and I'm just thinking of the other lands around that are either in conservation, owned by the state, right, or part of the Southeast Land Trust. There's almost no parcels larger than a handful of acres in this town outside of our property. Am I incorrect as I think about this zoning map?
I think if you, he and I played around with this. I think going out 85 to the right, there's some land there, right? There's some parcels, you know, where the people have horses.
Oh,
The fields there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mackenzie's?
Yeah.
And then
The old Finn property.
Yeah.
Wow, no.
Well, no,
Well,
before
that
that,
too.
before that, and he was approached by the space committee, and the only buildable property is right up on the road.
Yeah, there was a big spring back.
Right.
But he did not want to get involved, and he said it will never happen as long as he.
Understood.
There's always tomorrow.
There's always some other
People
owner.
die.
Yeah, there's always some other owner. But I guess my point here is that from a development standpoint, there's not a lot left here.
Yeah, I think you take the aquifer protection district, you take, which doesn't necessarily eliminate development. And you take the setbacks from the rivers and streams, and you overlay conservation, we're gonna be able to see this parcel.
Right, how many parcels are available? And again, I'm just thinking, there's not a whole lot here. Most of the west is in conservation, or this is all state land. South of Piscassic, that's not developable. Most of the land north of here, except for along the road, is also state land. Most of the stuff north of 87 is the Celt land, right? The daily conservation, right? And I just don't know the stuff west of Sanborn, whether that's, I don't think it's really developable.
Well,
I don't know.
That's in conservation too, right? The old-
Is it?
The Smith properties?
Yeah, I think there should be.
Oh, fishing game, okay.
That's,
I know that up off of Old Lee, the Oliver property's all in conservation, that's 30 acres. I'm just looking at it, and I guess over here,
I mean, that could be.
Labonte could develop that, right?
Access would be the part that
I'm just saying it's developable if they could figure out an access.
potentially,
Right.
I don't know.
They could buy another parcel to get access.
It's a tricky piece of woods out there.
I'm just saying it's possible.
It is, I mean, with the river and the inlets. and-
I don't disagree.
Like yeah, access, there is no frontage in that.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone on granite?
Yes, all the time.
You can throw a
Yeah.
layer of conservation in the parcels
Yeah.
on it and look at it pretty clear. That's what he's doing. But he's now, but granite's always not exact.
Correct.
He's,
No, and that's, but yeah.
he's got some coordinates that we worked on, and it's gonna be very helpful to see.
I mean, if you look at the amount of land in this town under conservation and under easements, I think we're one of the top 20 or 30 towns in the state if you don't count White Mountains National Forest impacts. It's a crazy high number.
Well, we were at 29.2% of the land is in conservation protected.
It's 29? Oh, I thought it was 19.
Oh,
29?
Yeah. And I think the average is 18 point something. So we're well ahead of it. But
Yeah, besides Finn and Horses Next Door.
Just the thing to think about is, you don't necessarily want to choke off development either, because that improves the tax base and allows us to pay for things. Like,
Yeah,
paving.
I look at the
New fire
development up on Autumn Lane. I think that's a nice little development with good tax revenue.
No, I think it's not been very responsible. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing I had was CIP. We're still working on that. I know it's budget season, so maybe we can get back onto that in another couple of months. So you want to review and approve December minutes? I'll be talking.
I think we need look like it should be.
Now, Sue Mike's mentioning they used to put little zingers in
I
there.
did, but then one time I posted it on the website and I forgot to take out the.
You were just checking to see if we agreed.
Did anybody call you one?
No, I
Probably not.
Those are the good old days.
they were. I can start doing it again if you like.
You can check and see if we're reading them.
She used to talk about our emotions in minutes. Everybody okay with them? Motion to approve?
Sure, I make a motion to approve as are.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One other thing I caught, remember I was talking about the two on the abutters list. So I figured out where it was in our form for abutters, it says 200 feet. So I think the way so there's this year, there's a new RSAO. It became effective September 1st, 2024. The way I understand it now is, if this is a lot, you go, and this is a lot over here, you gotta go 50 feet, 50 feet. I mean, can you read it? So I think we gotta get rid of that 200 feet and say,
Yeah, how do we change that?
it's gotta meet this, I wouldn't put any, just say it's gotta meet RSA, which it says in our rules of procedure, it says RSA 673-2, I think. Which is correct.
72.3.
Yeah, so I would just take that form out, let them, but they come to you, I'm trying to get it clear for you, because they come to you and say,
Right.
what do we need to do?
But the issue being, so if we do that, if we go to the state definition, then we're saying we're no longer having the definition that abutters are everyone within 200 feet.
Yeah.
Because the state definition of abutter is anyone whose property touches. So you are decreasing the size of every abutters list you have for a proposal. And I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying be aware that's what we will be doing.
But it says in our rules of procedure to use the state RSA definition.
But we augmented it with the 200 foot.
Bill,
Yeah.
I think that was done purposefully, the 200 feet. Because we had a circumstance where people were not notified for hearings because they did not directly abut, but they were well within the 200 feet. And
Well, the state definition, a lot of towns adopted definitions for abutters that some say 400 feet,
Yeah.
some say 200 feet. But the state law says only if the property touches is it an abutter. And then this additional language, or is across a street or stream. And that's what created this, the major part of this definition was describing how you do it when it's across a street or stream or a water body, which is wider than a stream. And then all of a sudden, whoever is on the other side is somehow an abutter, but you don't even know how to tell which ones they are. And so this statute tries to address that. But the overriding issue is, if we just do the state definition, that when someone brings us an abutters list, they're not looking at people within 200 feet. They're only doing anyone who touches the property that they're trying to develop.
So as your example, there's a stream 20 feet
20 feet wide.
20 feet wide, the person directly across is not an abutter.
No, they are an abutter.
Now they are.
No, it is always said across a street or stream.
Oh, okay.
The issue is looking at a parcel on this side of the stream where its property boundaries are,
Right.
and then going across the stream. How do you make the measurement to make sure that somebody across the stream is actually an abutter according to the definition? So they tried to refine that. But all I'm saying is, if we just reference state law, then the 200-foot abutter notification in Newfield is going to disappear.
So what's the downside to the 200-foot buffer?
Towns that have larger abutter requirements say that they prefer that more people know about what's going on than simply someone that touches the property.
that's right.
But some towns just say you're only an abutter if you touch. And the state law says for public hearings, anybody who can show that they're impacted have the right to provide testimony. But they may never know because they're the only people that get notified of the hearing would be someone who directly touched it.
Sure.
So it's a philosophical thing. My biggest town uses the state definition. Kingston says if you touch, if you're an abutter if you touch. So my second biggest town, Brentwood, says 200 feet. I feel that the public hearings that have notified more people are better public hearings.
You're also avoiding the potential legal challenge to, I was in a butter and you didn't notify me.
Because you really expanded who the butter is.
Correct.
So we keep it 200 feet, but then we got to go change our rules of procedure
I say we actually add this language
to the rules of
into.
procedure.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that requires just a public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a zoning issue, it's just
Yeah.
a public hearing.
I'm
Okay.
pretty confident that we
do that.
made that change along the way, sometime in the last 20 years, to include.
Yeah, I can't remember when it wasn't 200 feet for Newfields. But I have really spotty history. You know, I started in 85, and sometimes I worked closely with the town, and sometimes I didn't do anything with the town for 8 or 10 years. But it seems to me, it's always been 200 feet.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that's not a big deal right now, but, because there's other things with the site plan review, I think there's some conflicts that we need to change. So we probably should put them all together and have a public hearing.
Yeah, because that's all done just by the planning board.
Good. Good. You know, also, I mean, if you read some of these, there's a lot of stuff changed with building permits, codes and stuff. I don't know who watches that stuff in town, Mike, but a lot of building code stuff changed this year.
Building inspector.
Building inspector, yeah. Okay, anybody else got anything else? So is a motion to adjourn? Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Just throw something from the audience here. On this map, is there some reason you don't want to show the areas of Deer Tree, Partridge Hill, Ridge Road? Why are they not residential, zone residential?
They are.
Or are they?
Yeah.
They're
No, they are.
residential
They are.
agriculture.
They are.
Everything in white.
Anything that's beginning.
Everything that's white on the map is our residential agricultural district.
That's what I'm saying, residential agriculture. But why aren't these residential? Because that's what they are. They're
Well,
not agriculture.
but because-
They're farm, deer trees. I hope they're not a Ridge Road.
That's just what the district is called.
And why, but the thing is, that opens the door to agricultural activities there, including, the problem we're faced with Vernon and Farm. What's to prevent my next door neighbor from having an event over there and serve food? Nothing, right?
They have to be able to show somehow that there's an agricultural connection.
So they have chickens.
I mean, if your neighbor had a barn and had livestock and then said he wanted to sell beef because he had beef stock, I guess you could do that even on a 2-acre lot.
That's what I meant. They're homes. I mean,
Go ahead.
Doesn't Deer Trees have like covenants?
I was going to say.
Deer Trees have covenants?
Yes.
Does the covenants allow
Yeah,
for?
government, huge business happening.
Yeah.
If someone is a, yeah.
Oh,
what happens if you don't have a homeowner?
Well,
So not overlook, Runaway has them, Deer Trees has them.
So what we have to do is form one.
Just Deer Trees.
To protect ourselves from zoning.
It's on,
They're not doing it.
No, they're not a Deer.
So that, but you're asking about Deer.
Runaway, Ridge Road, they don't have homeowners.
He just asked if Deer Trees should be taken out of the urban zone.
I mean, we're a grand total of 6 houses.
Okay.
We do not.
So I have no
They
protection
are, so they are the
from somebody raising the
I think, Glenn, kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but
our neighbors could, in fact, raise pigs.
if you go and look at the origins of zoning, agriculture rules, right? Is that putting it bluntly, right? That you can't really preclude agriculture.
Well, the state of New Hampshire has said that no zoning ordinance can prevent tillage. So no matter where you are, even if your condo documents say that you can't, I think you can still grow crops on your land. It's an exemption that the state has said we're in charge of, and anywhere you have land in New Hampshire, you can grow a product on it. Beyond that, it really, if you're in a subdivision where there are no rules, then agricultural use is an allowed use in New Hampshire.
But let me just say this. Trying to claim exemption that you can do anything waving the agritourism flag doesn't necessarily fly, because any substantial change on a property that you want to claim under agritourism still has to come before this board.
And still, there still has to be a tie. There has to
Yes.
be a natural tie to an agricultural.
It doesn't preclude the planning board and the town from basically having a role in somewhat of a say in what happens, right? We just can't arbitrarily say no. That's what agritourism says. We can't arbitrarily say no. But it doesn't mean they don't have to come before this board.
You know, if you go to, I just brought it up here, there's a good book, it's true, if you go to www.nheconomy.com, go look at the planning section. I mean, there's one book called The Planning Board in New Hampshire, it's 129 pages. But it explains a lot of this, and there's actually a couple sections on agritourism, on farming and all that stuff. But if you want to just get better knowledge of, it's like one of my first experiences was in Rollinsford, New Hampshire, writing the adult district, adult entertainment district. And you could you had to allow it somewhere. So what the town could do was, you couldn't put it within so many feet of the school, so many feet of the church, so many feet of the residential area. But you couldn't not say, we just don't want them in town. The same thing with mobile homes too.
Wasn't it the same with the cell tower?
Yeah, and the same thing with cell towers. So there's certain, limitations on what we as a town can do. But that's if you sound like you're interested, it's a great.
Well,
just-
I live in Mechanic, and I live in a residential area, okay? I mean, all street of houses, right? And it's zoned residential. And my question is, why shouldn't these residential areas, homes on 2-acre lots, 2 and 3 acres, whatever it is, why are they zoned residential agriculture and not residential? Because they are residential, that's the use.
Because then you'd probably have the next little piece that's 5 acres that would be residential. You'd have these little just.
But if you look at the map of Northampton, that was divided up. I mean, where there was the residential area there was and where there wasn't. I mean, where was more open space, it was not. And I realize it's a little different town, a lot more people, but that's the way North Newfield is going, right? I mean, this is really a bedroom community. And so why is it, what's the reluctance in forming another residential zone that included these? Right now, the only residential zone is the center of town.
And that's allows denser, and part of that is water and sewer too. So some of it is water and sewer.
Well, you connect it through water and sewer.
Well, it's not.
That's how it got put in the first, right? But what I'm saying, I didn't have no town water and sewer, but it was residential. Is there some reason that we shouldn't go in these areas that are residential and anything but residential?
I think everything eventually is either going to be agriculture or, and I think, so you're saying a developer comes in and says, this is the way I want to develop this with 2-acre lots, then it becomes residential, but the other 10 acres on the back of it still stays agricultural.
Why couldn't it?
Because then you're precluding him from developing it like, because there's a limit, there's a 2-acre limit in the residential agricultural district for a lot size. So that's the limit. There's differences. If you look at the table of uses, there's different setbacks, the impervious surface changes and all that stuff.
So the town, I mean, they will not zone area residential, even though that's the current use for it.
Yeah.
Because they might fear that it might be something else in the future, non-residential. What do you think, Alan?
So Tom, just to, not to interrupt, but if I'm understanding what you're saying, you're advocating for a change of zoning for existing homes, like existing 2-acre lots. Like if you've got a particular part of the town that's a subdivision that's got 2-acre lots, you're asking why not make that subdivision with the 2-acre lots residential instead of residential agricultural. Is that correct? So Glenn, have you ever experienced something like that where towns would entertain like changing zoning?
Yep, the town of Kingston, in the last 30 years, has gone from only having an industrial zone and a rural residential zone into having now 3 commercial zones, 1 industrial zone, a single-family residential zone, a single-family residential agricultural zone, and the remainder stayed rural residential. So in rural residential is sort of a hybrid that allows very small commercial activities to go on as well. So the most restrictive zone now in Kingston is the zones that they call single-family residential. And those they do basically mirror the larger subdivisions that have been created over the last 30 years.
But that's not going to preclude somebody, the 10 acres that's off the side of Deer Trees, saying, well, that's now no longer residential agriculture. You're kind of opening it
No,
up
it definitely
to
would.
more development.
Well, it would depend upon where we drew it.
But it depends on how it was subdivided.
Right.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if we drew these zones to basically include all the 2-acre parcels, but not include, let's say, the open space land that are attached to these neighborhoods, you would have basically that single-family residential defined in where are, in essence, single-family residential homes. And it would basically force those to remain that way.
You have an ADU and a
Forever.
single-family zone.
Right?
Or until it changes zoning.
Oh, until the zoning gets, yeah, exactly.
So can you
And to complicate things in Kingston is about 75% aquifer protection because it has actually some of the best aquifers in Rockingham County. And if you're in the aquifer zone, then no matter which housing district you're in, your subdivision minimum is 3 acres. 3-acre lot, a 3-acre lot allows for an awful lot of agricultural use. Now, you might be opposed to your neighbors having chickens, but you can put a lot of chickens on 3 acres. And my personal experience is, I have a neighbor who had chickens, and it was beautiful, and she had 70 of them. And it was lovely until she got one freaking rooster. Because roosters aren't like Green Acres. They don't start cock-a-doodle-dooing when it's 7 o'clock. They're doing it at 4. And I had to ask her to kill the rooster or get rid of the rooster.
Shoot it.
But her 70 chickens went all over my property. I loved it. I had no problem with that. That one rooster made her agricultural activity untenable.
Did she give you free eggs?
She did, to which my wife refuses to use because fresh eggs aren't necessarily clean eggs. And that knowing how they really come, it's too much for my wife. She needs them nice and clean and like they came.
So in order to perhaps address what Tom is sort of thinking, it would require public hearings and some mapping
And a zone change.
and then a vote by the town.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess, I mean, that's a lot to probably achieve before this year, March?
Oh, you can't do it.
I would say, isn't, let's say, reality?
Well, I don't know if there's a face of reality. I guess that's up to the town to
Yeah.
decide if they face the reality that you're
Tax
facing.
resident, that's all.
So-
I'm saying. And let's don't, let's call it.
You know, the other thing is if you look at the water and sewer district, you say, you know, where do those boundaries come from? And talking to Ray, it was HTA, the engineer, just put these lines, that was it. But then I know, you know, we've talked about the sewer plant's not at capacity. They're looking for revenue. You start to, you know, maybe I think if we're gonna do something like this, we need to be talking about the water sewer district too, should it get expanded? Remember like we ran into heat because the back of the lot ran, so there's a couple 1 acre lots up there, so 2 acre lots,
Yes,
stuff like that, so.
because they're served by.
Water and sewer.
So, I mean, is that something that they need more revenue, that we want to increase flows to the plant, all that stuff, so.
Well,
That's what I think, get all this mapping and stuff
significant
playing with it.
infrastructure considerations.
Expansion.
But I don't know if there are a whole lot of, I think that's not a bad idea, but I think they're gonna be, if you're including every 2 acre lot, there's gonna be 3 of them over here. There are gonna be 4 of them over there, because as land is becoming less and less, people are more shrewd about fitting in their lots.
No, I live in one of those.
I
And
don't.
be very careful.
I don't know.
Because it's as important what you say can go on in the single-family district. Because if what you're saying is because someone has purchased a 2 acre lot in Newfields and it's going to be residential, and one neighbor wants to own 3 goats, your use chart is probably going to say they can't own those 3 goats.
But and again, this, as I was just saying to John, it will make for some interesting hearings when we have this, because, to your point, the argument here is you do a single-family home residential zoning, and it will be for things, let's say, for argument's deer trees, we want to include. It's going to be done by neighborhoods, really, because you're not going to have random no, you're not going to do lot by lot, because you're not going to have random lots all over the place. You're just not. That's not. Yeah. So assuming you're going to go by neighborhoods, the question then becomes: does that neighborhood understand that you're going to be a single-family home? If you're going to be single-family homes, you're going to have greater restrictions tomorrow than you have today on what you can do with your property. And if they're willing to accept it, then great. But to your point, there may be people who say, I don't want those restrictions. And then the town's going to have to try to address those.
Well, and the people who have the land left to develop are going to be more restricted too, so that.
But those aren't necessarily the ones I would argue that you put into single-family residential.
But if there's a piece in the middle, I don't know, that's why it would be good to see all these parcels. and see
Yeah,
what's
I don't
there.
think there's that many pieces hanging out there. I think you do this by the neighborhoods if we were going to do it. Right, you do the Hemlock Meadow, you do deer trees,
Right,
you do Partridge Hill.
That's how it's happened in Kingston.
You do Runaway, maybe Sanborn, and maybe Overlook.
Well, I would be curious, how many lots in deer trees are 2 acres?
All of them.
Really?
Yes.
You don't think there's any backland?
Backlands are mostly the open space that was part of the,
Main living lot.
Yeah. yeah, exactly.
Well, then would you,
Like Ridge Road and what's that one? Keith?
Ridge, High Rock.
It's just a matter of what gets put before the town. It's
Right.
not.
probably most of.
I'm not precluding any of this at all, I'm just saying, those are kind of the big blocks, right? Yeah, I mean, Ridge Road would be part of the Runaway Road block, because it's right across the street, and, who knows?
So now I can't have a chicken in my backyard? Is that?
But that's
That's
what
That would be
Glenn's
the first
talking about,
question.
right?
Yeah.
Only if you live next to Glen.
I live right in the center of Kensington. I am literally, I'm next to the elementary school. Rebecca, who had the chickens, has raised a cow to slaughter, raised a turkey that became my best friend that she ate for Thanksgiving. And neither of our lots are huge, but you can do a, horse people will tell you, you can shelter horses on a 1/4 acre of land.
There's a guy.
So a 2-acre lot could have, and by the way, a 2-acre lot in lots of places in America have horses on them.
Personal horses,
In New Jersey, horse people often only have 2 acres around their house and they have horses.
personal riding horses are allowed in our residential zone.
You have to notify somebody when you're gonna take.
You have to walk it down.
Well, again, if you have another zone, you're gonna have to basically determine what's special, what's
Right,
permitted, and what's not.
what's gonna be permitted and what isn't.
What about
ADU?
I mean,
Shopping center,
Same
I
thing.
think a lot of single family residential.
Well, I think there's gonna be some stuff going on in
Driving
the state
theaters.
too this year, so legislation. Okay.
For next year's warrant.
Yeah, something to do. Was there a motion?
Is there anything else?
Anything else? We're good.
Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Motion, seconded.
Aye.
Yeah.